Welcome to our Tech Talk, the Smart Shipyard. My name is Pernille Lau, your Master of Ceremony. And today our topic is how we can make shipyards smarter and more efficient, ultimately saving time, materials and reducing waste. And for you, viewers, if you have any questions, you can send them to the chat at METSTRADE Connect and we will of course answer them. So I'm happy to be joined by Giedo Loeff, Head of Research and Development at Feadship, and again, happy to meet Martin Redmayne, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief at the Superyacht Group. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Very, very nice. So I wanted to get straight to this. I mean, we only have 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. You were saying that before only 30 minutes we have so much to share, right? On shipyards and smart shipyarding. Yeah. As an industry observer, what's your perspective in the overarching question of what is a smart shipyard? Okay. Only 30 minutes, right?
It's very simple. You have to break down what smart really means.
Yeah.
Smart is people, technology, and the operation. If you start looking at a shipyard, there's an amount of hours wasted due to what I call project inefficiencies. That's a simple thing you can save from a cost perspective. So that's being smart.
Could you give an example of that?
Okay, you've got a huge project, 80 meters long. You've got suppliers delivering equipment in one part of the shipyard, and you've got people who need to get from there to there. And the systems of moving things around aren't quite straightforward. If you take a Boeing business jet, I've been to Seattle to see them being built, they take 11 days to make. From the day the hull comes in, or the fuselage comes in, to the day it flies out of the location. That's 11 days of manufacturing because everything is so efficient and so organized and so on time. That's where we should be. We won't do 11 days, but we could save so much time.
Yes.
If we just looked at that. And that's smart.
Okay.
But there's other things like engineering, technology, and energy, but that's another topic.
Yeah, but you were mentioning three. We just mentioned actually an example of what is going around in going on the shipyard.
The logistics and operational side and manufacturing side. You take smart shipyards could be what source of energy you've got, how much solar energy is being used, what's your water supply, how do you capture rainwater, for example. A lot of rain in Holland, what's it used for?
Yeah.
There's certain big manufacturing locations that use the rainwater for certain facility washing or whatever. So it's just that intelligent thinking. Is wind energy being used properly? Lots of wind in Holland and Germany, use it. And there's little things that big future-thinking manufacturers are using, but maybe yachts aren't.
Yeah.
So there's things that I'd like to look at there. And then you look at sort of the way in which the business runs its supply chain, where stuff is coming from.
Yeah.
How far away is something and how easy to get there and what the impact is. That's another smart topic.
And then you're actually talking, as I hear you at least, on sustainable questions also in this.
Yeah.
Because where is it coming from?
That is a number one focus of smart. To me, smart should be also how green and efficient we can make a business.
Yeah.
So what the energy source is and how you use it.
Yeah, exactly. So. Okay. Well, Giedo, I believe at Feadship that's what you do.
Yes, yeah. And we are actually working that a lot, just to take that a little bit further and how we are managing this. I mean, we just built a new yard where the whole logistics have been optimized.
How did you do that? How did you optimize it?
The people. The people know how to optimize. You don't need some manager to do this. No, it's the people who can reflect on how they do the work best and what work order they like the best. Yeah. Because it's efficiency, but it's crucially in the heart of the shipyard industry is to get to a certain quality. So they need the time and all the good atmosphere and the conditions to build something which is perfect. Because if it isn't, well, that is inefficient. Yeah, because you have to do it again and again and again. So and Martin touched upon this. Smart shipyards is very much the smart people, the people building it, being in control. Yeah. So that's something I really want to emphasize there. Energy, being smart. Yeah, you need to become sustainable because it's being smart, but also that's the only way forward,
being responsible
right?
too.
Yeah, responsible.
So we heard this morning in our conversation.
Yeah. And using solar energy, yeah, well, we have got a lot of rooftops, and well, if you fly over our yard, you see a lot of solar panels. Wind energy, yes, of course, but
that's relatively new, though, isn't it? That's a new step in our market direction.
It is, yeah, because we get more and more conscious about it, because we are then building the yachts more that they can be operated more sustainable when they leave our sheds with the owner. But of course, you have to mind your own business as well.
Yeah.
So there are lots of things we can do there. What I also like to bring to the table is becoming smart is also to bridge the gap, or to make a bridge between the operation of the yachts and the operation of Feadship. And why is that relevant? I mean, Feadship people know a lot about all the systems, so we are the best people that could also service the yachts. And on board of the yachts, there's all this ocean of information that we can use in order to improve the designs and also the build process. There's a direct connection there. So digitization, but also servicing the yachts is really crucial, and is really making us learn much faster. And on the operation side, but also really on the scientific side of things.
Yeah. So where would you say, I mean, you're outlooking on so many possibilities and already creating them and implementing them also.
Yes.
Where would you say, do you see friction points?
Friction points,
yeah.
I
mean, it sounds safe and sound, and you're doing it. And but here at the other side of the table, I hear there's so much going on. There's 11 days and this and that. And
I would say friction points are, if you look at the increase of a company, the amplification of our market, but also our own company, you need more people. You need more facilities. And where say years ago we have much better, you could say, control of this, because you have only so much people. You need much more standardization and also processes in place in order to manage this in a way that you get to this quality level that you need. So that's really a kind of friction point. If you grow, this is really something you really need to manage correctly. And a lot of effort is spent there.
And that's of course what's going on right now in the industry, right? I mean, the industry is growing, the demand is growing.
Oh, hugely.
So you have to be fast also in changing this whole shipyarding.
Well, I think what has to happen really is we look at how the supply chain and the shipyard work together, because you've got a very well-invested shipyard with lots of infrastructure, lots of management tools, etc., with a small supplier that may be 20 people, but making something very, very bespoke. Those sometimes don't connect well. So the shipyards have to work with the supply chain to improve their efficiencies in the way that other industries do, like aviation and automotive. They work with their partners. They're not suppliers, they're partners. To almost optimize the flow of delivery, installation, etc. That's when time gets wasted. And looking back 5 years, there was a huge amount of inefficiency, because it wasn't a coordinated effort, really. It was people competing for time on board.
Right.
Whereas the smart shipyards, like Feadship, have worked with partners for many years now to really improve the flow of work. Because you've got a 4-year build program in some cases, maybe more, compared to my 11 days of the Boeing story. 4 years is a long, long time. That's thousands of, maybe millions of man hours. If you can reduce man hours, that's profit and also efficiency. It doesn't change the quality if the process is well organized.
Definitely. Well, you were actually mentioning people being number one in this whole process. And when I hear Martin, then if you need to partner, instead of to say, okay, you're just a supplier, it needs a mind shift change. And it also needs a change in the mindset of the people working it. So are you actually investing more in training the people then, or what's your number one?
Not even more. It's something that has been second nature to us. Say, on a yard you find a school. We have a school where you train the craftsmen, the artisans, building the piece of art, you could call it. So that's really important for us, training our engineers, so the scientists, the PhDs. It's different. It's a different mechanism. They need to be peer-reviewed. They need to be within the academic world. So we spend a lot of effort in connecting to the universities, also to the science projects, because that's what they motivates them.
Yeah.
So you have to. It's a very broad scope. Yeah,
Exactly.
we have got the welders and we've got the PhD doing
Of
the
course,
optimization. So
of
it's
course.
all over the.
Yeah, I understand that your
range.
scope is really large, but at the same time, inside the scope, of course, the feeling and the umbrella vision, I would say, should be the same, right?
Yes.
In the serving the client, in making everything go smoothly.
Yeah, and that is a never-ending challenge. I would say it's part of the product. It's an experience. It's somebody dreamed to create the yacht and to use it. So for us, the whole process is part of our product. So we want to include the client. But yeah, if you then optimizing processes and standardization of it, and then having a client involved, that is well a force field, you could say.
No, it's a unique situation. I think Feadship is the pinnacle of smart shipyards at the moment. They're benchmark.
Yes, exactly.
For the marketplace.
Yes.
There are another 100 shipyards around the world that should learn what Feadship have done, and even go further in some cases.
Yeah, I was wondering how many shipyards actually right now are doing a good job.
Off the record.
Yes, please.
No, there are several different layers of shipyards. There's some very large groups of shipyards, and there's some small bespoke shipyards. I would say there's 10 or 12 really well-organized entities now that have woken up to the fact they have to really look at the people factor and the operational factor. But there's a lot of shipyards which are very artisanal, old-fashioned style.
Sounds romantic almost.
It is romantic. It is romantic. Yeah. These are craftsmen. These are people who have worked with their hands for 100 years or so.
Yeah.
Very, very traditional workforce. But there's going to be a generational shift. There's a succession plan.
Yeah.
People will come in and run these businesses, or people will retire, or even sell their shipyard. That's when the transition will really take place.
Yeah.
The next generation will not build things in the way that their fathers did or their grandfathers did. It's changing dramatically, and it's exciting.
Yeah, I do have a good example about it. Eh? Like the craftsmen building the yachts, that's really if you're on a yard and within the yacht being built, and there you feel their presence. They own this part of the yacht that they are creating. You have to obey to them, and I think that's the right.
They're the masters.
They're the masters.
Yeah.
But the new generation, they want something else. They want to 3D print everything. So we've got a group of youngsters doing the 3D printing, and they will get confronted with the restrictions of it as well. But also they give already insight on what could be possible with it, and it's used quite actively. Where you have more the conservative older generation. Why do we need this? They learn from the young generation, and you need this to try to find the balance there, because you can then also attract this new young generation.
Because as far as I've heard also in the conversations in the last days and also today, it almost feels like a kind of a gap between the former generation and the sudden come up new generation who's demanding so much, in which the shift has to be so fast. On the other hand, you have to be careful, you have to keep on balancing it before you lose the technicians, the people who are...
The point is the skills are the thing I sometimes worry about, the loss of skills as people retire.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
These first generation, older generation people who've got all that knowledge and experience, but also maybe bad habits in some cases. So it's looking at how they become mentors, or these people who can actually develop the next generation. But at the same time, what Giedo was saying about the younger generation wanting more technology in the manufacturing process, or have smarter ideas in some cases. There's a great little case study where a yacht design team asked a university panel of students to say, how can we do this? One little problem, solve this problem. And all these students sat around the table and actually came up with a brand new idea. And all the designers says, why didn't we think of that?
Because you never asked.
Yeah, exactly. And because they were used to doing it that way all the time. So it's trying to make sure we get into this phase of this new generation can probably sit down and say, we don't have to do it that way. Because we just thought about it. There may be a quicker, more efficient without losing quality. We can't lose quality. That's the thing we're selling.
It's crucial.
Yeah.
Quality is crucial, and it's a new generation, but it's also that our product is widening in terms of the technology inside is really massive. It's really complex. So you need people from other faculties, from other specialisms to work for you. We need much more data scientists today than we needed 10 years ago. We need to have people running the robots welding instead of the welder. So these are it's actually really cool.
Yeah, of course it's very cool, but it's a big project to work on so fast, I would say.
Yeah, it's a big project, but it's just a natural growth, I think.
Yeah, it does feel like that.
Is that
to
mature?
me, it is.
The market's maturing in a way, isn't it? We're maturing into a proper industry.
Yeah, and we're just getting there. You can try to pinpoint it, figure it out, make a plan, and then try to manage it as a project. And sometimes we need to, and sometimes you should. But there's also a natural process.
Yeah, I would call that an adaptive process. I mean, you don't know the outcome yet, and you will have to, in those kind of questions, you will have to work as a team.
True.
Find your strategic alliances.
Well, that's an interesting topic.
Come out to.
If I give you another case study of certain shipyards in the market, not Feadship necessarily.
Sorry.
Certain shipyards in the market will run several projects at the same time, but with different project teams. Those project teams may not talk to each other because what you're missing then is lessons learned from each project. The transfer of expertise or solutions or problems needs to be passed on more efficiently. If you keep repeating problems, you become very inefficient.
Definitely.
And that's part of our problem, of that lack of communication between, and it goes back to your point about operational AI or reporting or data capture. What happens on board is fundamental to the build process. If something doesn't work on board when the boat's operating and it doesn't get fed back to the shipyard, it may happen again.
Exactly.
And these things become frustrations and hugely inefficient.
And you might not even know about all those problems.
Exactly.
You don't even hear
You
back
have to
on
review them. You have to, and the problems. What is a problem? Do you know what? So you have to evaluate and analyze, and then understand what the cause is. Because if you know what the cause is, you can prevent it. But only knowing the problem, you can solve the problem, and then it will come back. So it's really it's a lot of work, and you could say it's a bit of a challenge because as a layman you would expect it all to be well organized because you have your phone and everything works and there's all this technology there. But if you have a complex piece of custom machinery like a yacht, all these different systems need to be combined, and the data is locked into these different systems because of technical or contractual reasons. Unlocking this information, digesting this is not Excel sheet work. This is gigabytes and a lot of computer power. We need machine learning technology with it, and this is something that we need to do while building the yachts. We are not Boeing, by the way, in that sense. So it is really fun to do, to be honest. But it's also a big challenge.
I would say so.
Yeah,
definitely. We have a viewer question, and that is, what is your emissions reduction target for the group of Feadship facilities over the next 10 years? Well, try to answer that. We just said it's not small factual sheets, but a lot of data. Do you have any answer on that one?
Yeah, well, I do. Yeah. If you look at the entire life cycle of a superyacht, our core business, so building the yachts, is a small part. The biggest part is from the use of the yachts, and you have our upstream part, which is all the materials we use, the steel and alloy structure. So we're looking at all of them. We can't set a target for the blast furnace producing the steel for us. I mean, that's their target. What we can do is our core process. So which energy do we use, and how can we do this in a way which is net zero, so there's zero impact. The challenge is because solving the energy problem that we can source solar power or wind power, that's really easy because you can buy this green
Hydrogen.
energy. No, you can buy it off the grid. We are in a part of the world where
Yeah.
there's a massive amount of investments.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
Yeah.
Our yard here in Amsterdam uses waste heat from industrial processes. Well, that's also really
Super.
easy. So you don't need any other energy other than this waste to heat your facility. So all these solutions, the trick now is what other impacts do we cause? Truly understanding this, so what happens if you start welding, Martin? What comes off?
Heat.
Heat and some
And
gas.
smoke and
and
the
smoke
ice
and-
and
and what's in there? And how can we avoid this? And what's if you heat up metal with grinders? What happens?
Yeah.
You could say, well, is that important? Well, yes, it is.
By the end it
because-
is, if you count
Yeah.
everything all together.
Yeah, so we have to look at it quite thoroughly, and that's what I like.
Yeah, so you mean actually you're bringing into picture really what is every part of the process doing, getting it maybe standardized, and then
Yeah.
also see, okay, well, there we could lower those emissions, and there we don't
Yes.
need to do that, etc.
True,
But
true.
of course,
It's-
first you have to know all the
it
information.
starts with understanding.
Yeah.
It starts with thorough
How
understanding.
far are you with understanding?
Quite far. Yeah, this is what is the skill here? I think we spent a really huge amount of effort in this. It spun off also the Yeti that you have been talking about, and that's
Yeah,
because
we're going to talk about it.
Oh, okay, you
Yeah.
will be talking about
Yeah.
it, and that's a spin-off of our own research that started, say, 15 years ago. But in our process, we talk to the suppliers of the aluminum and the steel and understand what their emissions are, and to the emissions of their competitors. And it's not only now will become cost, it will also be, well, what's the impact of the raw material we take?
Yeah,
It needs to be put into the equation when we buy the stuff, because that's the part that we control and we have influence on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think, what's interesting there is that there is a situation where every single facet of the market, there's small incremental reductions that can be made. When you put them all together, it becomes a significant shift.
Of course.
And when you look at all the different elements, you find solutions, you find sort of, let's say, reductions that weren't even part of a conversation 5 years ago. This is where we need to be with the smart shipyard topic, because as I said this morning in the previous session, is that the younger generation of client will walk into a shipyard and say, this is a dirty, horrible place with smells and pollution, etc. You're not for me.
Yeah.
It'll put people off who've got very much a future thinking in their agenda. So shipyards have to be smarter and look at everything, because how they recycle materials, where they put their waste material, it'll be all part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And clients will walk into shipyards and need to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Actually, just before we started this conversation, Giedo, we were just exchanging about a former project that I have been watching like about 20 years ago here in the Netherlands in one of the shipyards. And then it was all about speed.
Yeah.
Huh? It was only about what yacht is going the fastest.
Yeah.
That was it. Could it be that maybe in future you would see that people would be bragging about mine is the most
100%.
eco-friendly and
100%.
everything?
Not in the future.
It is
Now.
already there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all, but some, and they need to.
Wonderful.
Yeah, they want to. So it's a voluntary move.
Yeah.
And we can wait till they have to move. I mean, they could wait till they have to move.
Yeah.
We as well, because our local government will also, restrict what we are doing within the Netherlands. But we want to do it ourselves because
Sure.
we understand why it is relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you currently working on? That would you say that that's our flagship project right now that we really would like to get going in?
Yeah, well, it's always a bit tricky because we have a lot of very cool stuff that I can't talk about.
Of course, I know. I'm just trying.
I'd like to, but I can't. I think the thorough understanding that we have nowadays about especially the fuels, the solution that we need to do for the fuels of the yachts, there we have very significant developments where we understand now how to talk to government and also to regulators, because we need to have something that will work, because now what has been put in place doesn't work. So we need to have something else. And there we are seeing very substantial moves. We know alternatives that can be used today, and therefore reducing the impact of the whole superyacht fleet. Yeah, and quite, yeah. And then I have to, before I get into the examples, there are yeah, really cool stuff is happening. I feel very tired now.
We can't tell you. That's yachting. That's yachting.
I feel very tired now because we are really trying to push something which is, I run in circles at home because I'm so excited about it. Seriously.
I can imagine. But no, I think what's interesting there is that the amount of things happening behind the scenes, which are either under NDA or top secret projects, is fascinating to observe from my perspective. What you're commenting about speed is very important. The amount of yachts were built with a top speed in the last 20 years, 90%, 95% of yachts were built with a top speed in mind. Basically, all those yachts hardly ever operate at top speed.
No, of course.
Ever.
Yeah.
So it makes no sense. So the market is now being smart and saying, actually, what is the optimum speed? What is the most logical speed to operate at? And all these things are making everyone smarter, reducing the amount of consumption, reducing energy. Going back to what Giedo just said about fuel, we've got 5,000 yachts out there running diesel.
Yeah.
There are alternatives today that can replace all that diesel with basically a green fuel like that. That's what we have to do. We have to be the smartest industry out there because the money being thrown into it is huge, billions.
Yeah, okay, I totally agree, but it's in your saying, we have to be. So you have to become still. It's an ongoing process, you're not there yet.
No.
So
5 years. 5 years.
So, yeah, I think so too. You feel that the awareness is there on the client side. The understanding is there on our side, and there are mainly things in between, I guess, that needs to be resolved. But it's that's a process which we are used to, I guess.
He has this kind of poker face when it's about new things, that he kind of.
He's so excited.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we can
He's
see
bouncing
that.
inside.
We feel that here. Anyway, it definitely very clear that shipyarding now is totally different than as it was before. The changes have to be made.
Yep.
I'm looking very much forward to meeting you both again next year at METSTRADE TV here, and to hear that, to see coming out of your mouth the new thing that you have developed. I hope it's already there then next year.
I hope so too. Yeah. Halfish.
Halfish. Okay.
Halfish,
But then you can say something more about it. Great. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Yeah,
Really enjoyed this. Thank you for watching the last Tech Talk, the Smart Shipyard from 2021. I hope to see you at 3 o'clock Dutch time for the Boat Builder Awards 2021. So I see you soon.